You are listening to the Showbiz Side Hustle podcast, powered by PerformerPreneur. I am your host here, Nicole Louise Geddes, and together we'll be delving into all of the ways that a showbiz side hustle can support you now and long into the future. So sit back, relax, and listen in, and together let's get inspired to take action to create the life, future, and business of your dreams. This episode is sponsored by the Showbiz Side Hustle Handbook, available on Kindle and in paperback over on Amazon. Follow the simple tasks laid out over 3 easy-to-action sections and effectively build a strong business foundation for a successful showbiz side hustle. Welcome to another episode of the Showbiz Side Hustle podcast. And this week we are bringing in one of the members for a member spotlight, and it is the fabulous Vicki Bye. Hello, Vicki.
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for having me on your lovely show.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. I can't wait to introduce you and all of the many things that you do to the listeners. A lot of the listeners, if they are part of the Performerpreneur world, will know you because you have been there from the beginning. You are a real inspiration to many. The way that you pivot, the way that you transition, the kind of elegance that you do it with, it is beautiful to watch, and I'm massively grateful that you're here to inspire more people than the Performerpreneurs. Anyone that's listening, believe you me, Vicki is someone to watch. So welcome. On that note, probably should list off all of the business names, the performer things. Like, just introduce yourself, my darling.
Thank you, Nicole. And I love being in your group, and you are just such an inspiration to me. I am an OG of Performerpreneur. So my name's Vicki. I also am known as Victoria. And I have lots of fingers and lots of pies, but I am the proud and confident business director of Royal Costumes. Alongside that, I have also had my Royal Entertainment. And alongside that, I do lots of other bits and pieces like freelancing and other bits of performing, and also lots of other things that I don't know how much you want me to divulge.
We'll get there. We will get there because there's lots to discuss. In fact, we probably need a couple of episodes to go really into detail with all of the things that you have done, you can do, and we will continue to do. But let me just start by saying to the listeners that if they've been listening to the podcast in order, they will have heard that this started this year. We have spoke about goals and visions and growing and release and moving through fear and just becoming the version of you. I speak about like that era. What era are you going into? And I think most people don't kind of appreciate or want to admit that this can change. It can change from year to year, to era, to week. And the people that I work with who are comfortable with that change, who are happy to move and be agile and react and review, seem to be, flying 5 years after the pandemic. So let's go there, because it really did all kind of kick off for you with the pandemic, with that realization that there needs to be more than what we were all doing, which was primarily performing. Yeah,
absolutely. So back when the pandemic hit, I kind of spread myself really thin beforehand, and the pandemic really made me focus on what I wanted. And in some ways, I know as a performer, this might sound like a really crazy thing to say, but I'm actually really thankful for it, because it made me focus and it made me key in on like what really matters and pull at the points that I'm either passionate about, things that are actually going to make me money, and focus on the things that really matter in life. So yeah, and from that, lots of things came. So I got a brand new part of my business, which is my Princess Party company, and I completely launched that in COVID, and really unintentionally, it was something that was being offered virtually. I used to do little doorstep visits during different seasons, as Cinderella at Halloween, and then Elsa and elves at Christmas, when you weren't allowed in people's houses, but you were allowed at people's doorsteps. So, and then from that, again into the costumes, and as people were coming out of COVID, they wanted to go back into the events industry with a bang. And so I found that even events companies were looking at, they almost had like a surplus budget because they hadn't used it for so long, and they wanted to go into the events being like, oh, we're going to do this and that, and therefore the costumes came into budget, and I really feel like I benefited from that. So and also other performers, if you freelance, oh, I'm going to upskill and I'm going to get this, that, and the other, and alongside that came a costume. So that's also where I kind of cashed in on the moment, and my costume business boomed.
Ah, I love that. Now I'm going to pick up on two points there, and you said it right at the beginning of that, and it flowed through, because anyone that's watching on YouTube can see how enthusiastic Vicki is, but also I think you can absolutely hear that, like the enthusiasm and the passion for the projects that you have pushed, that you have pivoted into. And that's the first thing I want to point out. You mentioned passion, you followed passion, you wanted to find joy, you wanted to niche down and do the things that were going to work for you in terms of, lighting you up, giving you momentum. But you also, the second point, you said cash. And not many people dare put those two things in our industry in the same sentence. So I applaud you, because it's absolutely imperative that we make money, right? How else are we going to pay our bills? But you will know, as a performer, as part of the industry, it's not something that people shout about. And my mission has been to open people's eyes to that fact. But, having heard you eloquently say passion and money in the same breath, that's a breath of fresh air for me, because you need to make money. So that was the first thing that I heard, and I was like, yes, and you can hear the passion. But yes, there's no point doing things if it's not going to pay the bills. And I think you won't mind me saying, you're probably at an age where, cash, we need that. We want to live, we want to go on holiday, we want to buy a house, we want to, have a family one day. We need money. So that was the first thing. And then the first and second thing, then I heard the passion literally coming through. But the other thing that I picked up on, and I want the listeners to kind of, if they need to go back and re-listen, that the other thing I picked up on is that reviewing, reflecting, and reacting. And there's a lot of us with our creativity that have these ideas, that can see these potentials, potential ways to make money, potential ways to do passion and have joy. And you have literally done so well in reacting, reviewing, moving, pivoting, because that process you've just talked us through, performer, princess parties, costumes, and it goes on and on, right? So what happened next?
Do you know what, even you just saying that is just such a different perspective, because I sometimes see it as, oh God, I was really flaky doing that. And then, I obviously didn't pursue it. And then I decided I wasn't going to do that anymore. And I actually see it, and I shouldn't, in like a negative way. And it's really nice to hear that it's being seen from a positive point of view. And I do feel like I'm constantly pivoting, but there is that saying, which I'm probably going to not get right, that in times of crisis, there are always opportunity. And whatever the crisis is, if it's something as drastic as COVID, or if it's as drastic as somebody has, I don't know, an ill musician and they need a gap for entertainment, and what, all of a sudden they've booked a stilt walker or whatever. Like, so thank you for that. What was your question?
Well, again, we've gone off on a tangent now, but it is positive. It really is positive. And you should see it as that, because it absolutely, that is what's inspiring. And I was having a conversation. I don't know what my question was now. This could go on for hours, listeners. We'll just keep talking, just keep listening. But I just thought, so having a conversation, in fact, with Jack. Jack said the other day, because I was taking him around Zara, shopping, and he was like, oh my God, I never want to work in Zara. Not because he doesn't want to work in Zara, just because I've traumatized him by how long I spend in Zara. He's like, I can't imagine that. I was like, well, isn't that a good thing to know already? Like, you don't, that's not what you want to do. So you said about people, you're perceiving your kind of agileness and moving from one thing to another as flaky, but actually when I was talking to Jack, I said, oh, there was a dentist reception. I hope she's not listening. A receptionist at my dentist. And I was about his age. And she used to have a desk underneath the stairwell. And when you opened the door, she would pop her head back and say hello and sign you in. And she was still there. I mean, she's still there now, like 40 years later. And so instantly at Jack's age, I knew what I didn't want life to look like. And how many people do we know that are still in jobs and still doing things that, you know, they never set out to do, or they've fallen out of love with, or they're still doing the same thing. And so I think in our industry, more people than dare to admit have that instinct for change, for excitement, for pivoting, for pursuing. But in the industry, we've been kind of modeled to stay put, to have longevity in a scenario, in a role, and a direction that we train so hard for. So yeah, that was a little tangent, but the question was, what happened next? So we've done the pandemic. We're going to whiz through your career here. Pandemic, performer pandemic, 2 new businesses. You did put one down, and again, you're classing that as kind of like probably looking back thinking, oh gosh, I didn't pursue that, I didn't continue with that. But it was such a brave move, but also an important move, because on reflection, you and I working together, it wasn't needed anymore. Doorstep visits and princesses were not where you needed to be anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And even doing, you know, actual parties in person, I found that I was either going to them or getting other performers to go to them. And then I remember sending a performer off and having feedback from the parent, and it just didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. And I just thought, people are buying into me. They're not. Yeah, I could remanage it, and I thought, you know what, this is not me, and it's not how I want to be perceived, and it just didn't align with my kind of values. So I dropped it, and I said, we'll still offer princesses, but it's only going to be at events. So then I continued with my Royal Entertainment, and we done just events, like kids fairs and light switch ons and all that kind of stuff, as well as everything else that I had going on the side with Stilts, Fire, all the other kind of avenues of entertainment that I did have. And then alongside that, I ran royal costumes, and it worked really well because I could have content for both. You know, I'd send my costumes out with performers or out with myself, get wonderful content of photos and videos and whatever else, and then bring them back to either social media or my listings and be like, right, hey, here's a performer in my costume looking amazing. Wouldn't you like it? And so that's how that worked hand in hand. Then I had a bit of a life change, and circumstances just changed, and I just decided to move away from events. And I don't know whether I fell out of love with it, because I do still love performing. I do still do a bit of freelancing, and it's something that I would like to pick up on again this year. But I just something wasn't there for me, and again, it just didn't align with what I wanted at the time. And so I kind of went on another tangent and said, right, this is the time that I'm going to really home in on just my costumes, and I'm just going to push royal costumes to scale it and make it bigger and better, and make that my sole focus. And I'm so glad I did.
So glad you did, because if anyone's watching on YouTube, you'll notice Vicki is definitely not in Blighty right now. Like, there's a gorgeous blue sky behind her, palm trees. So that life change, those decisions, you know, whether you 100% knew, trusted the process, the universe, that you were going to get to where you are today. The point is, you wouldn't have been able to get to where you are today in terms of where you live had you have not made these decisions, had you have not listened to your heart and followed the new direction and been brave to do that in front of peers and, you know, colleagues and people that you work with and for. And so again, it's just needs applauding, because not many people are daring to say and do what you have said and done, which is, you grew out of, you fell out of love with, life changed. Who knows? Who even bloody cares? Oh, excuse me, what that point is. And I think we try too hard, more often than not, to give things a title, a reason, a name. But life's not like that. It doesn't have to have a reason. It doesn't have to make sense to anybody else. And I can speak very, very fluently on this because here I am sat in Oman with the same kind of internal conversations, the same, worry of how it's being perceived, the same confidence that it'll be okay. So I speak with love because I'm feeling all those things too. So well done you. And if you listen to the previous episodes this month, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about what is the vision? What is the dream? Where do you want to go this month, this year, in the next decade? So how close, and I know the answer to this, but it'll be lovely to hear your take on it. How dialed down are you on that vision? How much are you in it? What do you do? Where how long do you give yourself? That kind of thing. We're talking vision boards, manifesting, that's all.
I love a vision board. I've always had a vision board. I mean, or not always, probably for about 6 years or so. I always do a vision board, just like you. I think I've even listened to one of your previous podcasts, so go back and check that out, about how I have it on my screensaver, have it somewhere in the house, have it in my office, and I go throughout the year and I don't even see it anymore. And then I always check back as the year is closing, and I almost go through a paper copy of it and literally tick off all of the things I've done. And there's some things that I don't even realize that I've done. I'm like, oh yeah, I've been doing that, and I haven't even realized it's been like a goal. So that's been really nice. But the vision, to be honest, I don't even know if I envisaged this. I certainly didn't envisage moving to Spain. I never imagined that I would be in the place that I'm in right now. Me and my partner bought a property out here, and it is just paradise. I consider myself really lucky, and we always say about how lucky we are. And then we say to each other, actually, it's not luck. It's because we work hard. But there's that work word again. I also don't think it's working hard if you do something that you're passionate about. It's actually something that I pulled off of you just last week. We were doing a Zoom for the book collaboration, and there was the word work. You need to do this amount of work. And Nicole said, oh no, we're gonna change the word work and we're gonna use the word create. All of my performerpreneurs, they don't do work. We only do creations. And I thought I so resonate with that, because I don't really know when I work. I just work here and there, but actually it's not working because it's creating, whether it be I'm creating a costume or a piece of social media or a piece of content, it's creating. So, we have created this life for us. I don't really see that we've worked for it, even though we have. It's about creating it for you. And I guess there's that word manifest. You can say that I've manifested this. I don't know whether it is manifestation or just kind of going for it. Go in for that. I don't know. Just get out of that. Like, I don't want to live mundane anymore, and I'm not going to live just an average life. Like I'm not up for that. That's not me. And I don't see why anybody should just settle for average when you know that you deserve more. And for me, that is partly being out here in the sunshine. It's lovely knowing that it's not the warmest today, but as you can see, it's beautifully blue and it's sunny, it's not dreary, and I just can't even imagine being in -5 like the UK at the moment. I just cannot.
You don't have to. You're living it. The point would be, I love that about create, because that is how I feel. I'm just like, work. And Nate's like, what have you done today? What have you done? I don't work. So I feel the same. But we are, because that's just how I rewrite that so that I get the most out of myself. And obviously that's resonated with you, because if I say work, then I just think homework, I think school, I think desks, I think, and it stops me. So again, it's just reframing, rewriting these things we've been told through our lives, and just reframing them to work so that they engage with you, so that they excite you. But those that know Vicki and myself personally, they'll know that we work in the very traditional sense of head down, get on, do the things, take action, set time aside, but we very much offset it with joy, freedom, time with family balance. So it is hard work to be as successful as you are, but because you are following your passion, because you're following, the life that you want, because you have a vision of not staying in the same place doing the same thing, and you've got that bravery. I'm just kind of bringing all of what you've said together, because you've got that, you're going to get to where you deserve to be, much more, smoothly, inspirationally. And I think the bottom line is, when we're talking about January and these podcasts that I've put forward this month, the bottom line is, what do you want your life to look like? And are you prepared to make some decisions or change direction? And they might not always work out. And if you don't mind us going there, we're going to go to, a couple of things that have stopped you along the way, that have, caused a few, sleepless nights, I'm absolutely sure. But the decision was there, the action was there, the understanding of where you wanted to be and where you didn't want to be. And yes, people listening, you might find yourself in situations that are uncomfortable, that are unkind to you even, but ultimately you are moving. And we are, if you've got that in you and you want to move and you want to see and you want to get to where you want to be, you cannot stay still. You have to pivot, you have to dream, you have to take action. So if you're comfortable with just sharing a little bit of those kind of negative stories that are entwined, that did actually turn out positive.
Absolutely. One of which I think probably after COVID, I know that sounds a bit of a broad spectrum, but I mean, like, just as we were coming out of like one of the last lockdowns when events were booming, I actually think that I had a bit of a burnout moment in life, and I did nothing but work. I'm going to use that word. I really did. I was working every hour under the sun and not under the sun, until stupid o'clock, going to gigs which I really shouldn't have been doing, should have passed it over just to somebody else. And I just had a bit of a burnout. And I remember writing it in my vision board that I was going to make sure that I wasn't going to work every day. I remember counting in my diary like how many days that I had worked, and it was in like the 50 plus, and it just scared me. I was like, I need to schedule those moments of relax and switching off, even if it is just at home, going out, doing whatever, making sure that I reward myself, because all I'm doing is working, and actually I'm not really giving myself any time to spend these the monetary rewards that you are getting. So what's the point in that? But I feel like that was a real stepping stone for me and a real learning curve. So now I think being in Spain really helps, because we live life a lot slower out here, and I really notice it when I come back to the UK, that life is much more it just whizzes by, and everything is much more frantic. And if we don't do something out here, if something doesn't get done, it's just mañana. And we do live life like that, and it is a really lovely and relaxed style of life to have, as well as all of the other lovely benefits, as you can imagine: sunshine, people, food, cost of living, things like that. So that's a lovely outcome from that one. Another point I wanted to pull upon, which we've spoken a lot about, and PerformerPreneur has really, really helped me through. So last year, in April, I think it was, my main income stream, which was my Etsy shop, got shut down, and it made me really panic. Don't get me wrong, it was a horrible thing to happen, and I definitely had a meltdown about it. I had other income streams as well, so that helps, but it also made me focus on other things that should be more important. Like, my website sales should be way more important than Etsy, because I don't pay a commission on my website. I don't want to be giving however much percentage of my sale to another platform. So actually it made me really focus on things like that. And I've now pushed, if I get something new in, it goes on my website first, and then it will go on Etsy. So from my Etsy shop being closed, for a number of reasons, which I have addressed. I have managed to successfully reopen another shop. The other one is permanently closed, which is a real shame. It has so many sales on there, so many reviews, and it's a shame it's gone, but it's also made me really focus on, again, pivoting. I need to pivot and I need to do this and that instead to keep Etsy happy. So now I've got another Etsy shop, and it's made me pivot to things like eBay, Amazon, focusing on my own website. And now I've got all these beautiful platforms and they all bring me income. So that's my success story, hopefully from a point in my life which was really panicky.
Yeah, I mean, and I lived that with you. We were talking and sorting that and listening. I was supporting you. But again, you did it all. I always say to all of the members, it's all you. I'm just here to listen because I understand and I care. But the doing is always you guys. But yeah, it was scary. But I think, again, what highlights to me about yourself and many of the performerpreneurs that I work with is that kind of the not giving up, the tenacity. And I do believe that comes from being a performer primarily. Like, we've had knockbacks all the way through training, all the way through auditioning, all the way through working. Like, we're kind of resilient to that. So if anyone was to ask me, I actually believe 100% wholeheartedly that performers make the best entrepreneurs because we have got a back catalogue of trauma that we can like push through and do. So these things happen to you and both have ended positively, but that's more because of you and because of that internal tenacity, that resilience, that wanting to move and to grow and to learn. And I think more of us have got that than we dare kind of believe. And so again, listeners, if you're listening, these things happen, life happens. It's what you do next that really counts. And Vicki has just said exactly that. She knuckled down. She made sure she understood what was needed of her. She did the things. She reviewed, she reflected, she reimagined, redreamed, and she built it back up. And it's amazing. And I could, again, woohoo, want to applaud you, but I'm so proud of you. And it absolutely is well deserved. The diversifying income, always talking about that as well. You are brilliant at that. So even though you have now very primarily niched right down to costumes, you used to diversify your income with different, avenues in the entertainment industry, like you've said, and now you're still doing it. You're still very entrepreneurial. You've come right down to costumes, but you have just explained how that income is still diversified, and that is, that's entrepreneurial. It's brilliant and it's perfect and it's necessary.
Oh, thank you. I also think it's about going from that, is it a hobby, and you enjoy it, and especially as a performer, we all have that kind of love for performing or training and whatever hobby it might be, but to actually focus on it and be like, right, this is going to be my income, that's a completely different ball game. And then for it to be taken away from you when I had my Etsy shop closed, it wasn't a very nice time in my life, but I was very lucky. I had lots of people around me supporting me. You, for one, Nicole, my partner, helped me financially just until I was back on my feet, and now we're kind of back to normal and even happier in our lovely brand new house that I'm sitting in right now.
She's gonna keep talking about it, people. I'm sorry, it's so cold in England, but you and I are boiling. I mean, I'm actually sat in a jumper because the air conditioning is so cold inside the house in Oman, and Vicki's out there. But the last thing I'm just looking at the time, want to hone in on is, and you've said it a few times throughout the conversation sporadically about not necessarily these words, but community, support, people. It's obvious to the listeners that we've worked together. You've said about, the mentality in Spain versus the hustle mentality in the UK. So I do think it's important for the listeners to hear what we are saying and what I'm saying constantly, Who are you surrounding yourself with, listeners? What are they doing to inspire you? Are they keeping you in a direction you don't want to go? And where are the other circles? You know, obviously we can't all move to Spain, but you might do one day. But again, like you've had a very, very big realization that in England, the hustle mentality is hard. Like everyone is doing it and you can get swept away with it. And that's exactly what happened. And there was burnout. You found me and our people in Performerpreneur who are all on these journeys together, different speeds, different directions, but they have the same ethos. So talk to us, well, talk to the listeners. What's your advice about business in general and the support that you need? Because it's lonely on your own, right?
It can be. I know that I work well on my own, and I know that not everybody is like that. Although saying that, I do have support around me, like I've said, with the Performerpreneur group. I love the Performerpreneur group for many reasons. Just if you're having a bad week, I can just like pop whatever it is in there that I'm having issues with, even if it's personal, you know, professional, business, whatever it might be. And there's always another opinion or idea just to pivot that one little idea to then change your rubbish week that you've had or whatever it might be. Business advice, I think you've got to do something you love. It can't just be that you're going to go in, I don't know, clean the inside of somebody's bin. Like it has to be something that you are passionate about. For me, I think that I fell into the costumes because I had an absolute love for anything sparkly. I remember when I'm an ex-professional dancer, and I used to like look up what costumes do they wear on that contract, on that cruise ship. And I honestly would only pick like the ones that had the most sparkly and glamorous costumes before I even applied for the job, which might sound really pathetic, but it was all about the costumes. And I think that's why when I had my events and entertainment business, that's exactly what I wanted for my performers. You know, I want my performers to go out and feel the most fabulous and sparkly, because then that's going to show when they perform. And also, even just now, when I speak to my clients and customers, I want my clients and customers to feel that too. It's not just about, oh, have a sparkly leotard. It's about have this amazing sparkly leotard and feel fabulous in it. So anyway, I feel like I'm
No, it's good. You need to write this down. I mean, she's little bit of marketing anyway. It's exactly that. The whys, the whos,
Absolutely.
the ideal clients, the feelings, the emotions involved. And you're absolutely right, because that is going to push you, as it has done you personally, but push us all to succeed, because it becomes, you know, part of us. And there is that moment of, like you said, hobby into business, performer into entrepreneur, and performerpreneur, like, and pushing through that kind of hobby-esque bit. But that is not hard to do once you have made the decision, you know, worked out what the action is, found the people to support you, and then, you know, followed that heart-led business aspect and just gone so passionately into it, but with the cash bit, the money bit. And that's
it's got to be
right back to the beginning of the conversation, to have that money numbers part of the puzzle. That's what's going to get you to success.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I even pulled the face, like I even was like, oh god, because it still is, you know, I'm still a performer. Originally, it still feels orcs to say that money, like cash is king, but you know, it is.
I think it's really hard. I think it's almost a taboo in entertainment and events and performing. Like you never really ask how much somebody's getting paid, or you know, and yet if somebody was to do something for less than it's worth or for free, then you know it's not even worth your life. So I think it's a really funny topic. And but I feel really lucky to have fallen into the costume industry because I love it, and also that it's something that most people will understand and appreciate how intricate some of the designs and something like that are. And so therefore that's how I obviously make my money. Here we go again, even I feel awkward talking about it, but it shouldn't be. You know, if you work in an office, everybody knows whatever you do, if you're a secretary or I don't know, HR or whatever it is, you're obviously getting paid for it. But you know, if you're an entertainer, why is it that way? Like,
I know,
it
but
is.
we came into the conversation so confidently, but it's interesting, and I think it's important for the listeners and the viewers on YouTube to see and understand this, that it's it's a work in progress for all of us. And, you know, you and I have got as far as we've got, and it's still very apparent that, you know, there's things that we need to work on, both, you know, professionally and, you know, business wise and personally. And that's life. And it brings us back to that beginning of the conversation. It is about reviewing, reflecting, doing, asking, changing, pivoting. There is no linear way to get to where you want to be, and you have to take risks. And I think we'll end with, if you want to read more of Vicki's story, Vicki, I'm so proud and pleased, and I wouldn't have wanted to do it without you. Vicki is joining the book collaboration because these stories, Vicki, are so important to me. I think that the world needs to read them. You have said at the beginning of this conversation that you felt a bit flaky here and there, you know, like you didn't deem some of your successes as successes. And that's why I want this book collaboration. Well, it's going to be a thing, because to each other, we're all just so incredible. But to ourselves, we're just punishing ourselves, you know, on occasion, daily, whatever. Like, we're not giving ourselves the credit that we deserve. But also, people need to know what's possible. And we've all got stuff to be proud of. And so, yeah. What do you want your bit of the book? Let's end there. What do you want your bit of the book to gift to the readers once we've got there? What are you hoping that this will do?
So we touched on this, didn't we, when we spoke on Zoom with our book collaboration gang? And I know lots of people are hoping to inspire others, and I think that's a bit of a given. I think that our stories, I mean, even when I listen to other people's stories, I'm like, they're definitely going to inspire lots of walks of life, and I hope mine does as well. But I'm actually really looking forward to being inspired by them, because I already am. I listen to all of the people that are in PerformerPreneur, and it's just a fab gang. And I think I definitely suffer with imposter syndrome, but they are just fabulous, and I love being inspired by them. And so, from a really selfish point of view, I can't wait to be inspired by everybody else's story.
And imagine what more you'll achieve. So we've spoken about these kind of problems that you've pushed through, and all these lessons take us to huge wins, be that in life, personal, business. And you have had some massive successes since pivoting and creating this new version of your costume shop. So we have to tell people, because I'm beaming at how proud and how exciting this is. Tell the listeners who has bought into your new brand, who and where your costumes are seen. It's exciting.
So I think I know what you're pulling on. But lots of people have dived into my costumes. So I supply for lots of entertainment companies worldwide, lots in the UK, lots in the US. But my costumes have also been to the Seychelles, the Maldives. I've actually got a company that is in French Polynesia that I send to every now and again. But I have got some bigger ones on the list. So about maybe 18 months ago, I had a lovely commission order come through for TUI Cruises, and they are now on the Mein Schiff, which was really lovely because we're near Malaga. We walked up there the other day to a lovely viewpoint, and I could actually see one of the Mein Schiff cruise ships come in. And I said to my partner Tim, I said, my costumes might be on that very cruise ship right there, for all I know. So that was really exciting, really nice moment. I've also had an order from ITV Studios, and they have been featured on Britain's Got Talent, not by one of the contestants, but by like that kind of behind the scenes showgirly type thing. So that's really exciting. But my biggest and best to date was an order that I received last year, and I really couldn't believe it when it came through. I saw the email and I was like, nah, I don't reckon that is what it is. Checked the address, and sure enough, it was going to Universal Studios in Orlando.
It's amazing, and we should be shouting from the rooftops. Everybody, when you have a win, the biggest thing that I want people to do is shout about it, and that's massive. And it's the first of many, 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 as you say, all over the world. Like, that's incredible. You have done incredibly well. So there's just no reason for the listeners not to believe it's possible for them too. There's highs and there's lows. The highs are well worth it, aren't they? They're so amazing. Well done, you.
Yep, thank you. And it's still a pinch me moment. And I am now in collaboration and working with Universal Studios to see what they want. It's all based on still costumes, but I have got a list of emails going on with them to see what they want for their shows and parades throughout this year.
No pun intended, because Vicki is a cabin crew as well.
I am indeed.
So let's just round it up with, again, congratulations for everything you've achieved. I'm super proud to be part of your journey. I love being on calls with you, listening, sharing, helping where I can. You would do this, Vicki, with or without me, but I'm absolutely honored that you stay inside the Performerpreneur community, because you're an asset to us all. And the listeners, if you want to know more about Vicki, please do follow her on social. So Vicki, please share how and where people can find you.
So I am on Instagram and Facebook under Royal Costumes. And then if you wanted to follow me professionally, I'm also on LinkedIn, and that is under Victoria Bye.
Perfect. And we'll put all of that, everybody, in the show notes, in the blurb below. And I'm sure there's a mailing list for Royal Costumes. I mean, I know there is. So we'll also put that link if people want to sign up, because the costumes are beautiful. They're unique as well, one of a kind. So Vicki is designing and working with a company that's making her costumes, and you can pick colors and designs. And so yeah, it's a real no-brainer to get on that newsletter as well and see what's coming and what the discounts and things are as they come along. So yeah, it's going to be amazing. I'm so excited.
Thank you so much, Nicole. It's been fabulous. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolute pleasure. Okay, everybody, thank you so much. Go find Vicki, ask her things. She is an open book, as I am. We just want everyone to succeed, follow the joy, make some money, and just love being a performerpreneur. Thank you for listening to today's show. Big love, Vicki.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you for joining me here on the Showbiz Side Hustle podcast. So until next time, please do take a little bit of action, that very first step, and make sure that you are doing something for you and your Showbiz Side Hustle this week to move you forward and get you heading quickly and swiftly and strategically towards success.